The ANC's National Executive Committee met this weekend to discuss the country's ongoing power woes. Reports suggesting that some members wanted to discuss the robbery at President Cyril Ramaphosa's farm instead. Now, to reflect on that meeting, we're joined by political analyst Professor Sethulego Matebisi. Professor Matebisi, it was NEC member Nomvula Mokonyane who last week was speaking about the impact of the load shedding and said that she felt a special sitting of the NEC is what was required to show the country that the party is serious about turning things around and attending to the problems that are leading to the kind of power crisis we find ourselves in today.
Hi, good evening, Katie, and good evening to South Africans. I think it was a right move from Mayor Mokonyane, the African National Congress, as the leader of society, as the party proposed, need to set an example by not only paying lip service to something which affects South Africans on a daily basis, but they need to demonstrate that they take this matter serious. And one would have expected at such a key meeting that the African National Congress would have addressed this matter, because it is a very sensitive matter. And if I predict if the situation goes on, it will definitely put the country, I mean, we are already at a very high risk in terms of our economic growth, but it will definitely pull us much down in terms of our ranking internationally.
It feels like the cries of South African are falling into a chamber of vacuum of sorts, because on the one hand you have all of these frustrations that are being expressed on a day-to-day basis, but somehow they don't seem to be met by an equal response, at least from the government of the day.
No, we haven't seen a response on many other matters. I mean, I've got a colleague from the University of Johannesburg, Prof Sethulego, who wrote a book 2-3 years ago, The Smoke That Calls. It seems as if we first want to see tires burning, and this is not what we condone. I mean, there's no way that we can come to this kind of platforms and encourage South Africans, but it's leading there. Katie, South Africans at every level, economic level, is finding it hard. And when those who can afford to buy and purchase electricity cannot do so and are hampered by load shedding, you want those in the lead to at least take them into confidence, and that is not forthcoming. And that's why later South Africans will once again be blamed for being not sympathetic with the government of the day, but we don't see the same respect coming from the African National Congress in terms of taking South Africans into confidence. There's a huge difference, obviously, because some of these issues has been ventilated at Parliament, but there's a huge difference between making public pronouncement at Parliament and then addressing South Africans directly. One would have expected at least the President or someone in the presidency or even from the African National Congress addressing South Africans to chart the way forward in terms of the energy crisis that we're facing currently.
It's the worst cycle of load shedding that this country has been through. What makes it even more difficult is that there doesn't seem to be congruency between the Department of Public Enterprises and the Department of Energy and Minerals. We are constantly told about what seems to be tension or a feud between these two individuals that belong to the same organizations and could quite frankly be held to account by the very same NEC.
Yeah, well, I mean, we can also see, and I think it's also a little bit unfair sometimes to blame everything on the African National Congress, but fact of the matter, it is the ruling party, but this time around, it has been blamed on an industrial action. But the question is, do Eskom as a key service provider in South Africa, don't they have their own intelligence where they can pick up these issues? But for me, it's a mere problem of lack of planning, because obviously I strongly believe that this is a matter that could have been picked up much earlier and could have been resolved. And this is not to say to heed, the demand from labor, but at least to meet them halfway. And as you've correctly stated, the moment if you've got senior key, participants, leaders who do not speak to one another, or speak directly past one another, then that will create chaos. And this is exactly what we're facing currently in South Africa. So we can't just blame this on the industrial action that is taking place, because we have seen a vicious cycle of load shedding almost every second month.
Professor Matebisi, before I let you go, what do you think the ANC should be doing in response to this crisis?
Well, the ANC definitely, and it's very unfortunate, once again needs to make a public pronouncement to say what is their stance on this, how is it going to resolve this. I am certain that the African National Congress should have policy directive in terms of energy provision in South Africa, and they need to be guided by some of these decisions that they've taken at their elective conferences. The ANC needs to take South Africans into confidence, because at the end of the day, they will then allow other elements to try and once again, add fuel to an already serious problem that we are facing in South Africa. Many South Africans are battling to have access to a slice of bread, and that is a recipe for disaster.
Political analyst Professor Sethulego Matebisi, let me thank you for your time tonight.